Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Thoughts and Coffee. My name is Sarah Barnes-Humphrey. I am the founder and CEO of Let's Talk Supply Chain, the blended podcast, as well as the blended pledge. I'm wearing my blended shirt today. If you have not been to the website, go and check it out, blendedpledge.org. We've got some exciting things coming up this year for 2026. All right. Well, we can't get started without giving our show sponsor a shout out. So I want to give a shout out to the Secret Society of Supply Chain. And as always, we've got a big group of new members that I want to give a shout out to. So Rahul, Eveline, Mornings in the Lab, Trenton, Pamela, Caro, Emad, Peter, Abdul, Kai, Jose, Brent, Rahul, Nelson, and Arturo. Welcome to the Secret Society of Supply Chain. If you don't know what that is, it's our free membership group where we bring together supply chain professionals and executives to learn what's happening in your region, but also globally, and we can keep on top of things together. The QR code actually in the top right-hand corner will take you directly to that page so that you can sign up without any friction. All right, let's get to what is happening with Let's Talk Supply Chain. So we've got a brand new podcast episode. Now, we've had CargoWise and Secure Space on the show before. Bobby is a great guest. He is full of knowledge. And basically, we talk about the market review, but we also talk about and explore key challenges, opportunities, drivers. A lot of that has to do with truck parking. It also has to do with cybersecurity and security and what you're actually getting from those spaces and what the drivers are looking for and how far into the security journey we have to go when we're thinking about secure space and truck parking. So highly recommend you go and check that out. And as you can see on letstalksupplychain.com, we have an interactive experience for you. So you can click the button for an executive summary, key points with timestamps, industry trends, related content. You can even ask the episode a question. So head over to letstalksupplychain.com to check that out. We are also going live tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern with the show Performance Paradox. Now, that's hosted by Chris Hamley of the Breckham Group, and they're going to be talking about punching clocks versus pushing boundaries, building high-performance DC teams. This is not something that you want to miss, and you're going to want to click the attend button that's usually here, but I'm attending. So you want to click the attend button even if you can't attend live, and we will send you that recording so you don't miss out. And where are we going to be? Well, next week, I am going to be in Vegas for Samsara Beyond 2026. We're going to be recording some podcasts on site. We've also got our social team coming. And so stay tuned. We're going to have a lot of content coming out of that particular event. And then, of course, we've got a brand new show. Now, this is happening in just about 2 weeks. 10 a.m. Eastern, the fourth Wednesday of the month, and DC Shvergola is back on the roster. A lot of you were asking when she was going to come back. She is back, and this is like no other show. We're actually going to be doing a conversation. It's going to be half conversation and half micro demo. We're going to be showing you exactly what the technology can do for you. So when that comes out, click the attend button because you're not going to want to miss that one. And then I'm going to be moderating a panel discussion at the Logistics M&A Club, September 16th through 17th in Chicago. Now, this is going to be a different one. It's also going to be fun because it's part of my background. I mean, everybody knows we had a family business. And we're going to be talking about that in the during the discussion, the panel discussion at this conference, and I'm super excited about it. So if you're in the area and you want to join us, and this is something that you've been thinking about, definitely contact Logison. And then we're going to be in person in February at Manifest. Now, I think I saw an announcement that came out that they already have 250 exhibitors signed up for this. This is going to be a big show. It's February 8th through 10th in Las Vegas. So go and check that out. And then, of course, you've been hearing me talk about this. We've expanded into Asia already. We have our first episode out, and we're creating some really great content for you over on the Let's Talk Supply Chain Asia LinkedIn page that you're going to want to check out. We're talking about what's happening in the region, but also how it's going to affect you globally and here in North America as well. I've talked to a lot of executives over there, And they get questions all the time about what's happening in the region. What do we need to know about our supply chains? Well, this LinkedIn page is going to give you insights into that as well. We're also talking about it over on the Secret Society of Supply Chain too. So go check that out. Oh, I don't know what I just did. Okay. The next one is we are launching Let's Talk Supply Chain Europe. So if you haven't followed the page, come over here because, again, we're going to be talking about what's happening regionally in Europe. We're going to start those episodes in September. We're going to be talking to vendors. We're going to be talking to leaders. We're going to bring you what you need to know in the European market and how it's affecting your supply chains here in North America. So go and check that out. The links are for both of those are in the comments. We want you to click the follow button and follow our pages there to stay up on the news. All right, now I think it's time for us to do an introduction because my trade bestie's in the house and she's going to be joining us for some of the discussions today. Over to you, Camille.
You know the feeling. You're the one who makes the thing work, and nobody notices until something goes wrong. That kind of work is mostly invisible.
Today's guest has built a 20-year career on exactly that kind of work. She started in a high school theater, studying music performance and technical theater. The kid backstage, making sure the show ran. Then came the Starbucks counter. Early mornings, regulars, the rhythm of getting it right before anyone else was awake. In 2005, she walked into Orchard Custom Beauty as a traffic coordinator. She never left. From 2014 to 2019, she put in 5 years of nights and weekends to earn her CITP and FIBP designation. Trade in 20 countries teaches you something. Customs forms are a language. Behind every shipment is a person waiting on the other end. She led OWIT Toronto as president, and she stands inside Blended Pledge. Audrey lifts other women in trade as a habit. Her philosophy is simple. Trade is 20% technology and 80% people. Audrey, welcome to Thoughts and Coffee.
Yeah, it's about time that you're back. It's like you're outside.
I am outside. Let me know if it's way too noisy.
It should be okay. Maybe a little bit of wind, but we're okay with that. We are okay with that. We keep it real here at Let's Talk Supply Chain on Thoughts and Coffee. Now, I forgot to let everybody know, if you are watching and you are listening, I want to know in the comments where you're tuning in from. And then, of course, if you're loving the conversation, we love a good fire emoji here. So put that in the comments as well. So Audrey, I mean, that was quite the intro, but it should be because you absolutely deserve it. And I'm so glad that you're back.
Thank you. Yeah.
In Toronto.
Well, obviously in Toronto, when it's a nice day, we get ourselves outside because we've had quite a long winter and an odd spring. It was an odd spring. So here we are, we're out. We're Toronto's one of the host cities for FIFA. So there's lots of FIFA activity going on, which is very exciting. Yeah, lots to do in the city. So we're outside.
Cool. Well, let's talk about the poll of the week. We ask you all a question every single Wednesday morning, and you all showed out for this one. We had over 200 votes. The question was, what's the biggest threat to supply chains in 2027? Tell us why in the comments. Now, this is interesting because we're going to be actually talking about some of the top 6 trends that KPMG has come out with, and I don't think they're anything that we've thought about. So 42% of you said economic uncertainty. 33% of you said geopolitical risk. 13% said talent shortage. 9% said AI disruption. Audrey, what do you think?
I think it's the risk. I think that's on top of mind for everyone, for sure, in the current climate. I would say AI, maybe if we'd said this a year ago, yes, but I think a lot of people are now finding really workable case studies for those tools. So I think not so much the novelty, there's still novelty, but I think maybe the hesitation has worn off on AI. So I think this is really reflective of the people I'm talking to as well.
Yeah, and I want to share some of the comments because we had a bunch of comments as well. Raphael said 3 of these 4 are really the same vote. Geopolitics drives the economy, the economic uncertainty, and AI is both the disruption and the tool we use to respond to it. Talent is the odd one out, and that's why they voted for that one. Trey says economic uncertainty gets my vote, but labor remains a major part of the equation. Now, I've also been talking to a lot of leaders in Asia Pac as well, and they're seeing a reduction. They don't have enough supply chain talent in those regions, which I was really, really shocked about. And then in Europe, they're looking to recruit and showcase that supply chain is really good for women. They need more women in supply chain coming into supply chain over in Europe as well. So just want to share some of those comments because I think it's fairly interesting. And now we go to our market update. Now, Audrey, you and I were going back and forth on WhatsApp the other day. Because I saw something about the CMA PSS, which is the peak surcharge, that's going up quite significantly. And you were like, yeah, that's old news. Okay, I already knew. So talk to us about the market update. What's happening? What do we need to know?
So prices are definitely going up. We've seen a GRI applied as well on June 15th. And we saw one applied on June 1st. So they're really doing that 1st and 15th edition. And then on top of that, last month, I believe it was May, they had introduced that, there's so many acronyms. The EBS, the emergency bunker surcharge, I think is on the ocean. So that had been introduced already. Then you've got the GRI, another GRI, and now you've got PSS. So it's not uncommon in the summer to have these increases or GRIs, PSS. Most of us are heading into peak season. The volumes are higher, the access is different. But the challenge is that the amount of what is being applied, it is shocking. I think it was a $3,000, $4,000 just in the one charge on top of all the other charges. So it makes the container prices are probably sitting between $5,000 to $8,000 now, which is just a lot for the market to bear.
Yeah. Well, and I don't think we've seen this. I mean, regularly peak season surcharge, bunker, but we haven't seen anything like this since the pandemic. And it's interesting, right? Like, how many acronyms can we get on an invoice?
You've just got to keep adding them to your, you have that supply chain glossary or terminology dictionary you can just keep adding to. But it's difficult. Because it's like the cost of it, right? We're going back to kind of the kind of pandemic times. The challenge is the economy and market is not the same in the pandemic as it was in the pandemic, right? Because that you had a captive audience, everybody's at home, everybody wants to shop, everybody needs things, and they can't go out. In this environment, I mean, there's a bunch of shippers who are going to be tempted to just not ship. They're just going to stop shipping while they wait for these disruptions to change over because they either have nice stock in hand from kind of front forwarding during the tariff challenges last year, or they're just going to kind of change what they're doing and make a pause because, sales are down across the board. So,
I feel like the bird is going to come on your shoulder.
Oh, yeah.
I think it really wants
I'm sorry.
It really wants its time on live show. I want to give a shout out to Jana, Heather, Eileen, Susan, Tom. We've got a big group over on my personal LinkedIn as well. Remember to let me know where you're tuning in from because we want to give you a shout out. All right, let's get to our first article. Now, this article is from KPMG, and you might remember, I think it was last week that I did talk about some of the key supply chain trends shaping 2026, but that article came out in January. This article, I'm not entirely sure when this one came out, but it actually shared different trends than the one from last week. And so I wanted to share it with you because I thought it was fairly interesting. Now, what they're talking about, the key takeaways for supply chain leaders. Now, the first one they're talking about planning for volatility now is the baseline. Is that a surprise? Probably not. Disruption has been in our vocabulary, I feel like, since the pandemic, and it just keeps compounding. It's not going away. Planning for that disruption is now the baseline, so I definitely agree with that. They're talking about total value replacing resilience as the primary supply chain objective. Now, Audrey, I want to bring you into this conversation before I go through all six and talk to you about the first two because I think it's really interesting. The conversations that I've been having recently, they're like resilience. Isn't that part of planning for volatility? What did you think of this article?
I think resilience is key, but I think the way that we talk about it may be changing, in that it's sort of become expected. Like, it's the expected norm of your supply chain to be designed and to be resilient or resistant to these kinds of disruption and uncertainty. And some of the piece around building that resiliency or building those designs might have been investment or spending. And now we really have an operationally driven environment, especially in an uncertain economy where things are tighter, spending is more monitored and scrutinized. So then now it gives you the opportunity to really kind of present, especially if you're in supply chain, like present that operational mindset and present that, that you understand the whole picture, right? Not only the supply chain, what those costs are, and really pitch them as like investment versus cost. So I think this is driving that piece of the, what's kind of coming ahead.
Yeah. And if you don't know what total value is, they actually do a great job of breaking it down: total experience and total performance. So that goes back to customer experience. That goes back to what Audrey is talking about around operations. And then they talk about centralizing global business services. So we've traditionally, and we've always been talking about how supply chain is traditionally siloed. This is really saying that key trend is pushing everybody to centralization and collaboration internally. And that's going to be a key to success for the rest of 2026. They also talk about decision governance must scale. Now, I agree with that one wholeheartedly. I mean, if we're thinking about the introduction of AI, and we're thinking about how many people are using outside AI tools if they're not given the opportunity to use that within their roles. And that really creates a governance problem for every single business. If they don't have an AI playbook, they don't have governance. We don't know red light, green light. Red light, don't use it over here. Green light, it's okay to use it over here. And we're not giving them the environments that they want to play around in. And then the last one that I wanted to point out before we go to the news desk is that because of everything and the volatility around tariffs has happened, they're actually saying that digital scenario modeling is going to be a key trend to success for supply chain as well. Audrey, any last words on this particular one? I mean, tariffs have hit you hard. You've had to navigate through that since the very beginning. What do you think about what they're saying here?
No, I think that's a key piece. If you have been affected by the tariffs, which a lot of companies have been, and that's global. I also think the piece around the AI governance is key, because we need to start having that documentation, no matter what size of your business. You could be a small business to the absolute largest corporate, but if you're a small business, the expectation is that you have the background, you have the evidence, and you're documenting it. And that's certainly true with tariffs and customs. As the tariffs shift into these sort of Section 301 and Section 232 regulatory tariffs, you require that background and compliance information. As the US also, globally, the world gets a bit more focused on forced labor and what that means. You need that background and documentation. So that AI governance, AI can even help you build out that documentation. So definitely use it. So it's one of the case studies in the use this. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, if you want to know more about that article, we put the links in the comments for you, so you can go check that out. But now it's time to go to Diane and Julian over at the news desk. What do we need to know this week in supply chain?
Sarah, we've got 4 stories at the desk: cyber attacks, commodities, tariffs, and an AI system that didn't make it.
First up, software supply chains are being hit as hard as physical ones.
5 major attacks have landed in 2026.
Megalodon alone infected more than 500 GitHub repositories through commits disguised as legitimate contributions.
OpenAI and Grafana were both confirmed affected. Stolen assets included cloud credentials, SSH keys, and CI/CD secrets.
If your planning or logistics software runs on open source dependencies, those are now a live attack surface. That's an operational risk. Next, the Hormuz closure is reshaping commodity price forecasts well into the second second half of the year.
S&P Global revised chemicals and resins prices higher across the board. The peak has shifted from Q2 to Q3 2026.
Aluminum is the one to watch. 2 major Middle Eastern smelters were hit by missile attacks. Once down, they take 6 to 12 months to restart. Helium, sulfur, and aluminum are all flagged as inventory depletion risks. Mid-market manufacturers need scenario models running now, not quarterly.
Also, the USTR has proposed new tariffs on 60 trading partners, covering essentially every major trade lane.
The basis is forced labor enforcement failures. 60 countries were investigated. All 60 are now facing proposed additional duties of 10% or 12.5%.
Canada, Mexico, the EU, and the UK face 10%. China, India, Japan, South Korea, and Vietnam face 12.5%. USMCA-compliant goods are exempt.
Procurement teams that already modeled around Liberation Day now need to remodel landed costs across every origin country simultaneously.
Last, Starbucks has shut down its AI-powered inventory counting system after 9 months.
The computer vision system was built to track beverage inventory and prevent stockouts. Employees called it unreliable. It miscounted and mislabeled items.
Starbucks moved back to manual inventory across all stores. CEO Brian Nichols said they're being disciplined about where automation adds value.
High SKU, variable environments are where computer vision struggles most. Define what reliable means in your operation before any AI rollout. Cyber exposure, commodity pressure, a tariff sweep across 60 countries, and AI rollback.
All 4 are execution decisions, not just headlines. Sarah, back to you.
There is so much to unpack there. I mean, the fact is that they did come out and say that the computer vision technology that they had brought in for inventory didn't work. And now they're going back to manual. I am just like thinking about spreadsheet after spreadsheet. And I'm like, no, there's got to be a middle ground here.
There might be some, I'm sure there's some automation built into it. I'm sure they have, some sort of ERP behind the scenes. But I found it very interesting that they did the test and they didn't like it. But the quote from their CEO that they need to be disciplined about where they're applying it. And I think that speaks to the article we referred to before the news break, that there needs to be a design or a discipline, whatever you want to call it. It has to be intentional and you have to do the testing. You can't just launch it into the environment because, that was their inventory and they were able to keep it internal and course correct. But if that had been customer facing, that would have been a nightmare, like getting people's orders wrong, getting, the store experience wrong. So
yeah, and we talked about that with Taco Bell, I think a couple months ago on this show. Did I stress you out, or did they stress you out with all of the tariffs that are coming down?
Yeah. Now you have to redesign again. Now you have to relook at this on a global scale. And I was like, well, technically it was already a global scale, but like that kind of did stress me out a little bit more because I was like, okay, I feel like I'm starting to have a handle on things. No, I never have a handle on things. So thanks, News Desk.
What was really funny? They were like, USMCA is exempt. And then in my mind, I went, for now.
For now, as long as it's around.
Right. Because they're just about to go into negotiations if they're not doing it right now. And nobody really knows how we're going to come out of that. So better watch that one very, very, very closely. All right, let's get to our second article because I really want to get to our third one because it's about the Antarctica and some rogue containers. And I just think it's fun. Anyways, so our second article, now this is a case study that Let's Talk Supply Chain did with Reveel. Now, we also did a LinkedIn Live last week. And if you missed it, we're going to put the links in the comments for you so that you can go and check that out because that was also a case study. I had Irina Roska from Verisite on that show talking about how she has really been able to control her parcel shipping, and they deal with cancer patients. And so it's really much about life-saving and healthcare. And so really, really important stuff, including this particular case study. Now, they are talking about, this particular customer was talking about running on Excel, and it took 5 to 6 hours at the end of the month to run a report. Audrey, what did you think about this one? Did it sort of like make you rethink about what you're doing with Parcel?
Absolutely. I mean, Parcel can be the kind of thing like in my environment where, it's mandatory, it's required, but there maybe isn't as much attention to it as sort of the larger shipments or the international or cross-border. So I do have to say though, one, like Irina is like very insightful on this. She has a lot of experience with it, and she's been very innovative over the years in how she's approaching it. So that was a great episode. And then the case studies in general that you guys do, I know I'm biased because we're trade besties, but overall, I do find the case studies are very helpful because it really gives tangible examples. So yeah, this does make you kind of rethink or get kind of motivated to relook at, if you haven't been, relook at what you're doing in Parcel.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to put the link for you to be able to download this case study. I actually paused it on this particular frame because it talks about the results of what they were able to do together with Reveel and what it actually meant to their business. One of the quotes, I think they said that they're actually now able to fix problems. I thought that quote kind of spoke volumes. Because if you can't fix the problems, what are we doing? So if you're not able to fix problems with who you're currently working with, you might want to rethink that. Anyways. All right, let's go to our third article. Now, you sent me this one, and when you sent it to me, I immediately put it into Secret Society of Supply Chain because I was like, is this actually real? And I think we need to know about this. So this last article is about how shipping containers were found floating away on an iceberg after a blizzard. And I started reading this article, and I was like, how does this happen? And they were talking about how, for some reason, I think this particular iceberg broke off. I don't quite understand how they move the containers from an iceberg to a ship, but apparently the ship has to dock further away because there's not an actual port. And then the containers somehow get from the iceberg to the ship. But because there was a blizzard and it broke off, the containers started floating in the sea and the ocean and could not get back to the ship. And so they were trying to do a rescue mission. Audrey, talk to me about this because this is
So it's wild. I mean, it's just wild what's happening in Antarctica. But yeah, I guess there's a crane fixture that helps with the loading. And then, yes, there was a huge storm and it disrupted the whole thing. And then unexpectedly, a piece of this iceberg broke off. And the picture is fascinating. You have to look at the photos of just the scale of if you've been around a container, you know what a container size ship is. And look at the size of that iceberg. It's wild. But also the challenge is typically in rescue operations, like we've seen in off the coast of Vancouver, they use helicopters to go and retrieve those containers. They use a Coast Guard helicopter, kind of like a basket or kind of a lift, which is very difficult in a frigid, freezing environment, I would imagine. So the normal scale of operations do not apply here. This is an extreme exception to the norm. So it's just fascinating.
Yeah. And I want to give a shout out to Igor. He created, I think, a blimp type aircraft object or flying object that can actually pick up containers and move containers. So I wonder if that is actually the better solution than the helicopter, if there's an environmental component, and maybe Antarctica could potentially be the breeding ground for this. So Igor, you might want to check this out and maybe see if this is where you want to do a bit of a pilot. But what I think is most concerning and what they talk about in this article is that there was garbage and diesel inside of these containers. And so the environmental impact of actually leaving these containers on the iceberg is really what prompted, I guess, this rescue mission of trying to get these containers off the iceberg. Now, did we actually find out if they were successful and they were able to get them? Because I don't remember reading that. You're on mute.
No, it was in progress. So the article was just talking about that it had happened, but I think we need to dive in and see if there's a follow-up.
Okay, so I need to make a note that we need to follow up on this story in maybe a month or so and see what happens. But what did come out of it was that they had decided that if they're going to store the containers and get them ready to be put on the ship, they actually need to have the containers 5,000 meters from the edge so that they can actually avoid this happening again. And I was like, 5,000 meters. I was trying to figure that out real quick, whether that was, what's that in kilometers? And if anybody's listening and they know, I mean, this is not my jam.
It's 500 kilometers, right? Because it take away a zero?
500
or is it 50?
I don't know.
50 kilometers.
Anyways, somebody tell us in the comments.
Yeah, someone do the math for us. I'm uncaffeinated. I'm on thoughts and coffee without a coffee. Help me.
What did you do that for? I mean, come on. Either way, it's really, really far. And so we have to travel the containers. Anyways, that far. Listen, we are at the end of the show. As always, it has gone very, very quickly. I want to give a shout out to everybody who joined us this week. I'm going to be back here next week. I'm actually going to be doing this from Vegas because I'll be at the Samsara Beyond conference. And so, it's always fun to do it from a hotel room. And so we'll see what happens. But I hope you tune in 10 a.m. Eastern every single Tuesday. And again, go and check everything out at letstalksupplychain.com. We also have all the links in the comments. And if you're on my personal LinkedIn, we will be putting those links right after we end with the show. Audrey, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. This was fun.
All right. Have a great week, everyone. Ciao.